Hello everybody, this is Stewart Swerdlow for Expansions.com, and this is my news podcast for the week before Christmas in 2011. And some of you may know, last night I got back very late from my trip to the Middle East and Africa, and it was quite fascinating, and I think that subsequently, from today, I'm going to be writing more about it, some things I will be discussing with my OMG group, and some things I will be putting in future podcasts because it's just really too much for one podcast. Plus, I had been traveling for over 40 hours nonstop, and I'm a little bit tired, so I want to explain everything to you when I'm more clear-headed. One thing I wanted to talk about was this newspaper I found, or was given actually, on an airliner in Namibia. And it's called the Southern Times. It's a very major newspaper that's distributed, you can see, the newspaper for Southern Africa. And it's quite mainstream and conventional, and is seen at airports, malls. They give it to you on airlines. You can get this newspaper anywhere. But I want you to take a look at this little corner where it says, "Will anyone ever arrest George Bush?" Now I did a scan in Cape Hope, where all the little penguins were and baboons were running around. It's funny because in the U.S. sometimes you see signs on the road warning you about deer crossings and that kind of thing. Well, in Africa they were warning about baboons, that they're dangerous and they could cross the road. Do not touch them or interact with them because they will bite you. There were also seals. There were lots of little penguins, whales. It was quite fascinating there. In fact, there's also a sign warning when you walk on the path about cobras, and a big red X through that also. From there, I scanned and I looked down, and there is natural tube running from somewhere in the middle of South Africa straight down into Antarctica, and that's most likely why the Germans in 1938 through 1944 used South Africa as a base in order to build the 211 Paradise for the Führer in Neuschwabenland, which was located in the Norwegian part of Antarctica. But when I left Dubai to go back to the U.S., something very interesting happened. The routing was odd, and no one could explain it to me, and let me show you. When we left Dubai, instead of going northwest across to North America, we went east and north. We left Dubai, went into Iran, and flew all the way across Iran to Tehran, all the way into Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia. The plane literally zigzagged to get to certain locations as if it was observing. And while we were in Iran, something clicked in my head. I remembered back in the 1980s that KAL, the Korean airline plane that was shot down over the Kamchatka Peninsula, and then years by the Soviets, who said that they flew over installations and they believe were spying on the Soviets, and so they shot down the Korean airliner with a couple of hundred people on board. I'm sure you may recall that story, and there were movies made about it. And then years later, it came out that that airliner was seen in a U.S. military base near Washington, D.C., being fitted for cameras underneath the carriage of the plane. So while we were flying over Iran, so close, and looking at areas where I knew the media had mentioned the nuclear facilities were located, it hit me that perhaps this Emirates airline was fitted with a camera and was literally spying on the Iranians. The Emirates and Iranians don't like each other. They're Persian and Arab. The Emirates is closely aligned with the U.S., and of course Iran is more aligned with the Russians and Chinese. And so I thought, okay, maybe we could be in trouble here. Just a week ago, the Iranians shot down a U.S. drone over Iran. Why wouldn't they shoot down an airliner if they felt it was a threat to them? Remember, a few years ago, the U.S. military shot down an Iranian airliner over the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, because they thought it was a dangerous plane. So these things do happen. I mean, fortunately, it didn't happen this time. I'm very grateful for that.